welcome to the deep dive. You give us the sources, we give you the analysis, saving you time sorting through everything.
Exactly.
Today, we're looking at W. Kamau Bell. I mean, he's one of the most, intellectually compelling figures in American media right now. And this isn't just about, reviewing his stand-up jokes or anything.
No, not at all. It's much broader.
It's really about tracing the whole architecture of his career. Yeah. How he uses humor, uses analysis, even deep reporting sometimes to tackle some really tough issues in America.
Especially race.
Social identity.
Exactly. We're really tracking his entire socio-political path. The sources we have cover quite a bit his early life, for instance. You see how the sort of nomadic upbringing.
Right, moving around a lot.
Yeah, and his, unique parents, how that maybe set him up to critique all these different American experiences.
Okay.
Then we look at his foundation in San Francisco stand-up, that activist comic identity he built. And then the really dramatic shift, into winning Emmys for TV hosting and directing these, serious documentaries for big names like CNN and Showtime.
So our mission here is to get beyond just listing achievements. We want to unpack that evolution. How does someone known for, deadpan satire?
Yeah, that distinct style.
How does he shift into being this respected investigative host, but without losing that critical edge?
Yeah.
We want to find that consistent thread in connecting Totally Biased all the way to United Shades of America and even his work on Bill Cosby.
And we're definitely going to zoom in on a couple of really pivotal moments. First, there's that surprising endorsement from Chris Rock.
Huge.
Yeah, that really launched him onto the national TV stage. And second, maybe even more crucial for understanding his activism, we're going to look closely at that Elmwood Cafe incident in Berkeley.
Ah, yes, that one really blew up.
It did. A really profound, real-world collision with implicit bias. It sparked a national conversation, and it really defined where his personal life and his public advocacy meet. So let's dig into how Kamau Bell built this empire of critique.
Okay, so let's start at the beginning. Walter Kamau Bell, born January 26, 1973, Palo Alto, California. So he's 52 now. And what jumps out immediately from the sources of biographical stuff is just how much he moved around in those early years. That feels pretty important for someone who comments on America's regional differences, right?
Oh, absolutely. The sources really hammer this nomadic point home. He wasn't raised in just one spot. There was Alabama.
Which gives you a very specific lens on race and history.
Totally. Then Boston, specifically Mattapan, between 5 and 12, a major cultural place.
Right.
And then Chicago after that. So this geographic range, it gave him a perspective that, a comedian who grew up in just one city might not have. He saw the U.S. not as this single thing, but as a collection of different regional identities, different challenges.
And the parental influence is also really interesting structurally.
Yeah.
Because this is where you start seeing the connections, I think.
Definitely.
His dad, Walter Bell, was operating in, high-level finance and politics. Alabama's insurance commissioner, then chairman of Swiss Re America Holding Corp.
Right. Big stuff. Systems-level thinking.
While his mom, Janet Cheatham Bell, was deep in the cultural side and author, founded her own self-publishing firm.
And that combination, it's really telling, isn't it? His father's world deals with these big macro systems, insurance, regulation, corporate structures, politics.
Yeah.
His mother's deals with voice, with narrative, with creating cultural content. And Bell himself, the commentator, he seems to embody both, right? He uses creative storytelling, humor maybe, from his mother's influence to critique the very systemic structures and institutional failures that were part of his father's world. It's not just jokes. It's systemic critique through performance.
His education seems pretty rigorous, too. University of Chicago Laboratory Schools, that's a strong academic start.
Very strong.
Started at UPenn, but dropped out, which kind of suggests maybe a turn towards something more practical or artistic.
Seems like it.
Which he then found at Columbia College Chicago, taking filmmaking classes.
Yeah, that shift, from maybe pure academics to practical creative work like filmmaking. You see that sometimes with performers. They realize their medium isn't just theory, it's actually doing it.
Right.
Oh, and here's that little detail the sources mentioned that I loved, the family connection.
Oh, yes.
He's a first cousin once removed of N.K. Jemisin, the celebrated sci-fi and fantasy author.
Wow, okay.
And kind of reinforces this idea that maybe tackling complex social issues through creative work runs in the family somehow.
So when he finally gets established, it's not L.A. or New York, not the main comedy hubs initially.
No, it's San Francisco.
Which feels like the perfect political incubator for him, right? He wasn't just doing comedy sets. He was explicitly a socio-political comedian and a community activist.
And crucially, he was a founding member of this comedy collective called Laughter Against the Machine.
The name says it all.
It really does. It's like a banner for his early mission. Comedy has to challenge power, confront it. And his genres, they reflect that. Observational, sure, but specifically things like black comedy, deadpan, satire.
It's not just rattling off jokes.
No, he uses humor to explore, maybe even diffuse tension around really tough subjects. Racism, social identity, inequality, American politics.
The sources point to his one-man show, the W. Kamau Bell Curve. Ending Racism in About an Hour is maybe his defining early piece. That title. It's so specific.
It really is. It suggests this, like, analytical structure, but wrapped in humor.
Yeah.
It functions as his comedic thesis statement, almost. Premiered back in 2007. And it's described not just as jokes, but as a comedic exploration of the current state of America's racism.
Right.
And what's key, the sources note he's updated and performed this show periodically over the years.
So it's not static.
Exactly.
Okay.
His analysis of racism isn't frozen in 2007. It's a living critique that evolves as the country evolves. That shows real intellectual commitment, I think.
And that commitment started paying off. His first album, One Night Only, came out the same year as the Bell Curve show premiered. But the recognition really seemed to solidify with the second one, Face Full of Flour, in 2010.
That one got noticed.
Yeah, the sources say it was named one of the top 10 best comedy albums of the year by both iTunes and Punchline Magazine.
He definitely hit a nerve. And by 2012, his reputation in his home base was solid. Voted San Francisco's best comedian by, 3 big publications?
Mr. Winkley's San Francisco Bay Guardian and 7x7 magazine.
Right. So this regional success, built on that foundation of systemic critique, not just easy jokes, that's what set him up for the national stage.
And that national spotlight definitely arrived in 2012. Totally biased with W. Kamau Bell. It's a huge leap, right? From the Bay Area one-man show vibe
Totally different world.
to a weekly TV show structure based in New York.
Yeah.
And the producer involved. You can't overstate that.
No, absolutely not. The sources are very clear. Chris Rock produced it. I mean, Rock's endorsement, that immediately gives Bell's voice validation, gives the show that crucial initial spotlight on FX.
Right.
But it was a challenge, you know? How do you take that raw activist energy of a San Francisco comic who's used to talking directly to a pretty informed crowd and translate that into a more formal late-night TV format?
Totally Biased was weekly stand-up commentary focusing on social and political stuff naturally.
It's bread and butter.
But it had a pretty short run, didn't it? Sources say it started on FX, moved to FXX.
Yeah, the newer network.
And then got canceled in November 2013.
That quick cancellation and the fact that the sources mention he moved back to California right after, it kind of shows how tough it was, trying to fit that deeply analytical, socio-political critique show into the standard late-night comedy mold.
Maybe the environment wasn't quite ready for his specific blend yet.
Could be, especially compared to, you know, the more traditional nightly joke formats that were doing well. But maybe that failure, quote unquote, was necessary. It forced a pretty radical shift in his approach.
And that shift led directly to what feels like the defining project of his career so far.
Yeah.
United Shades of America.
Oh, definitely. Game changer.
Launched on CNN, April 24th, 2016. And this was not a comedy show. This was a serious, award-winning documentary series.
A huge pivot from satire to deep reporting. Although Bell's perspective, his voice, was still the driving force.
And he wasn't just the host.
No, executive producer too, which probably gave him the kind of narrative control he might not have had on the previous show.
Right.
And the format of United Shades is what made it stand out. Bell traveling across the country, really embedding himself in different communities, different cultures, some familiar, some...
Wow.
Well, some pretty controversial.
The sources really highlight the tough subjects he went into. I mean, for audiences maybe used to his commentary, suddenly he's sitting down with, like, members of the KKK.
Exactly, or interviewing people deep inside systems of poverty or institutional bias. And that unique style he has, that deadpan observational thing that he used for jokes before, suddenly it became this tool for, like, journalistic inquiry, almost disarming.
That deadpan approach must have been crucial for handling the tension, right? Staying somewhat neutral while dealing with these really charged situations.
Absolutely essential. And the critical world, they responded incredibly well. We have to talk about the Emmys because it's kind of staggering.
Okay.
United Shades wasn't just put in a standard documentary box. It got nominated for Outstanding Unstructured Reality Program.
Unstructured reality. Interesting category.
Yeah, from 2016 to 2019. That category suggests the story is driven by real unfolding interactions, not just a pre-planned investigation.
And the wins.
Historic. The show won the Creative Arts Emmy for Outstanding Unstructured Reality Program 3 years straight, 2017, 2018, and 2019.
Wow. 3 years in a row.
For a documentary format like that, especially hosted by someone who came directly from stand-up, that's extraordinary. It basically proved his method was not just valid, but vital.
And Bell himself got recognized too, right?
He did. Nominations for Outstanding Host in 2017 and 2018. So it wasn't just the concept winning, it was him. His persona. The curious, analytical, sometimes visibly uncomfortable outsider that really clicked.
That consistent success, it feels like it signals something bigger maybe, like a cultural shift.
I think so. A broader acceptance that these difficult, identity-focused conversations belong on major networks, guided by critical thinkers, whatever their background. The show had a really strong run, 7 seasons, ending in August 2022.
But even with the demands of making that show, he didn't completely ditch stand-up.
Kept his roots, yeah.
2016, his first TV stand-up special, Semi-Prominent Negro, came out. The title alone.
Vintage Bell. Playing with status, visibility, all of it.
And he branched out into directing, too.
Yeah, he directed a 2018 episode of Culture Shock called Bring the Pain, exploring complex cultural stuff, but from behind the camera this time.
So the common thread across all these different formats, it seems to be that analytical rigor.
Always. Whether he's on a stage, traveling for CNN, or directing, he's using his perspective to make the audience confront uncomfortable things about America, and always grounding it in personal experience and identity.
Okay, so beyond TV, the sources show this huge media footprint expanding into podcasting and print. And in a way, the podcasts seem like a place where he can keep both sides going, the comedy voice and the analyst voice.
Yeah, the podcasts are really key for showing his range, his ability to mix high-level ideas with humor. Probably the most well-known one is Denzel Washington, is the greatest actor of all time, period.
Right, since 2014 with Kevin Avery.
The premise sounds simple, right? Just reviewing Denzel movies.
Yeah, seems like a fun fan thing.
But what makes this Earwolf show so much more is how they use Denzel as like a lens, a proxy for talking about the whole history and impact of Black actors, Black performance in Hollywood and American film. It's actually cultural critique dressed up as a fan podcast.
And the guest list kind of proves that point, doesn't it?
Oh, totally. The sources list this incredible roster of people who've been on. Spike Lee, Ava DuVernay, Ryan Coogler.
Wow, major directors.
Issa Rae, Jesse Williams. These aren't just random actors, they're people shaping the culture. It shows Bell's show is taken seriously as this high-level cultural discussion point, not just, casual movie chat.
Then you shift gears completely with his other big podcast, Politically Reactive.
Right, with Harry Conabolu since 2016.
This feels like it taps back into that systemic critique vein we talked about earlier.
Absolutely. This one is intensely focused on current U.S. politics, elections, policy. It keeps a comedic tone, but dives into really serious stuff. It's more immediate, reacting to the news cycle.
And the guests, again, signal the seriousness.
Exactly. They regularly have high-profile activists, top journalists, scholars. The sources mention names like Robert Reich, the economist and former labor secretary,
Okay.
and Representative Pramila Jayapal, a prominent voice in Congress. So Bell uses this platform to connect policy choices to how people actually live, but keeps it accessible with the humor.
And he keeps local ties, too, with Kamau right now.
Yeah, his live radio show and podcast from KALW, also since 2016, shows he stays grounded in community media, too.
And he was early to podcasting generally, wasn't he? Co-hosting the Field Negro Guide to Arts and Culture way back in 2010, 2014.
With Vernon Reid from Living Color, yeah.
Yeah.
He clearly saw the power of that unconstrained, long-form conversation format way before it became, everywhere.
So all these different formats, the film review pod, the political one, the local radio, it feels strategic.
It does, like creating multiple channels for critical discussion, each maybe aimed at a slightly different audience or speed. And this whole synthesis, identity, politics, culture, it all comes together perfectly in his first book.
Ah, yes, the book from May 2017. With that title, that's practically a paragraph long.
Laughs slightly. It really is something. The Awkward Thoughts of W. Kamau Bell. Tales of a 6'4" African-American, heterosexual, cisgender, left-leaning, asthmatic, black and proud blurred, mama's boy, dad, and stand-up comedian. That title, it's just a masterclass in identity politics and self-awareness, isn't it? Exhaustive, funny, and instantly lays out his very specific intersectional viewpoint.
And the book itself reflects that.
Yeah, the structure is described as a humorous autobiography, but mixed with these critical essays about politics, about pop culture, it basically cements his whole brand. The personal is political, and his own life, his own identity is the main lens he uses to look at systemic America.
He's using humor to navigate and just own every single one of those complex identity labels all at once.
Exactly. It shows he really gets that in today's media world, identity often is the story.
Okay, so the next big phase seems to really cement him not just as a commentator, but as a serious creative force behind the camera. Directing.
Yeah, and tackling subjects that required, well, a lot of ethical and artistic skill, moving beyond just observing into deep cultural examination.
The project that really stands out here is that documentary miniseries, We Need to Talk About Cosby.
Huge. Directed and produced for Showtime, came out January 2022. And this was, a really high-stakes project.
For so many reasons. Bell, a black comedian himself.
Right.
Taking on the life and career of Bill Cosby, directly linking it to the sexual assault cases.
The sources emphasize how much cognitive dissonance this involved, especially for black artists and audiences who had, for decades, seen Cosby as this major cultural icon, someone who broke barriers.
So Bell had to navigate both celebrating Cosby's cultural importance and unflinchingly showing the evidence of his crimes.
Exactly. That incredibly difficult balancing act is why the film landed so powerfully, I think. It was this painful but necessary piece of cultural critique. It forced viewers, especially maybe black viewers, to hold two really conflicting truths at the same time.
And it was recognized for that complexity.
Absolutely. It won a Peabody Award.
Wow, Peabody is major.
It really is. It signals the depths, the ethical quality of the work. It proved Bell wasn't just a host. He was a sophisticated director capable of handling really sensitive cultural trauma.
He followed that up pretty quickly with another directing-producing job in 2023, right?
1000% me?
Growing Up.
Mix. Yeah, focusing on kids in the Bay Area navigating mixed-race identity. This feels like it brings his focus back to the personal, identity-based stories.
And connects to his own family life, too.
Exactly. He's married to a white woman. They have mixed-race kids. So it links his personal experience to these broader complexities of the modern American family.
But his work isn't just commentary or filmmaking. He's formally involved in activism, too.
Yes, the sources list his roles with two significant organizations. He's on the advisory board for Race Forward,
Which is a major racial justice think tank, right? Focused on systemic change.
Exactly. And also Hollaback, the anti-harassment organization.
In this formal advocacy role, it goes back quite a while. October 2013, he was named the ACLU Celebrity Ambassador on Racial Justice.
That's a really key detail, especially when you think about his CNN work. He's actively advocating for racial justice through the ACLU while simultaneously reporting on racial justice issues for CNN.
It's a tricky line to walk.
It requires huge transparency, definitely. But it also likely gives him unique insights into the systemic problems he's covering.
Okay, so now we have to get into the moment where his personal life collided with his public persona and became this huge news story, the Elmwood Cafe incident from 2015.
Right. This became a major case study in implicit bias and really solidified his public activist role.
It happened January 26, 2015, his birthday, the sources note, at the Elmwood Cafe in Berkeley. And the setting matters. Berkeley, upscale, progressive California city.
Very much so. Bell, who's, a tall black man, 6'4", dressed casually. He was just talking to his wife, Melissa, who is white, and her white friends at an outdoor table.
And his account is that a waitress came up to him.
Yeah, and told him to scram or something similar, explicitly saying she thought he was selling something.
Wow.
Bell immediately read this as a classic racially motivated microaggression. The whole shopping while black or existing while black phenomenon. The assumption wasn't customer, it was homeless or seller, based purely on his appearance approaching white women.
And the cafe's immediate reaction.
It was fast. The owner fired the waitress, tried to damage control. They held a community forum with Bell, talked about implicit bias, how to improve.
And this initial response get some positive attention.
It did. Bell's detailed personal story about it was even featured on This American Life.
Oh, right, in that Birds and Bees episode. It was kind of framed as this teachable moment, an example of addressing bias.
Exactly. But the story didn't end there with the positive PR. And this part really shows Bell's commitment to pushing for actual sustained change.
What happened?
3 years later, April 2018, remember the high-profile arrests of those two black men at a Starbucks in Philadelphia?
Yes, that was huge news.
Well, in the wake of that, Bell publicly revisited his Elmwood Cafe experience. He renewed his criticism.
Why?
He claimed the cafe never actually followed through on the implicit bias training and the systemic changes they'd promised back in 2015.
Oh.
Said they just stopped answering his emails. He basically argued their initial response was more about optics, performative, rather than real institutional change.
And this renewed criticism got attention.
Significant attention. It highlighted that common pattern. Organizations react publicly to a scandal, but then the follow-through on real change often fades.
And the consequence for the cafe?
The sources confirm that shortly after Bell's renewed critique gained traction, the Elmwood Cafe closed down.
Wow.
But, interestingly, the space reopened just a month later. New management, actually the former manager, Cara Hammond, became co-owner and a new name, Baker & Commons.
So that whole sequence, the incident, the initial response, the alleged lack of follow-through, the public pressure leading to closure and rebranding.
It's a really powerful, real-world example of the challenges in tackling implicit bias, even in places that consider themselves progressive.
It really underscores why Bell focuses on systems, doesn't it? It's not just about one waitress's action. It's about the culture that allows it and the accountability systems that often fail afterwards.
Precisely. And just to round out the personal side, sources confirm he married Melissa Hudson Bell in 2009. They have 3 daughters. And true to his style of making the personal public for discussion, he publicly shared his decision to get a vasectomy in May 2019, turning a private medical choice into a conversation about family planning responsibility, reproductive health, #tag outro.
So looking back over this whole deep dive, what really stands out about W. Kamau Bell is his ability to take something incredibly complex, really charged, whether it's his own identity, systemic racism, the whole Cosby situation, and apply this sophisticated analytical lens, but somehow keep it approachable, often even funny.
He's the ultimate synthesizer, isn't he? He blurs those lines between comedian, investigative journalist, ACLU ambassador. He really demonstrated that comedy isn't just for escape. It can be a vital delivery system for serious critique.
Yeah.
His work basically argues that to be truly informed, you sometimes have to be willing to laugh, maybe uncomfortably, while you process some hard truths.
Which brings us to this final, really unexpected kind of capstone moment for someone so defined by cultural critique.
Yeah, this one was surprising.
The sources detail that in 2025, W. Kamau Bell went on Celebrity Jeopardy.
Right, a total bastion of traditional mainstream American knowledge.
And he didn't just show up.
No, he won the whole tournament.
Incredible. Took home $1 million for his charity, donors choose, and the trophy. The guy who built a career dissecting the biases in American institutions just mastered maybe the most mainstream intellectual arena there is.
It's quite a statement.
So we leave you, the listener, with this thought to chew on. Bell has spent his career challenging categories, what comedy is, what journalism is, what identity means. So what does it signify when this figure, named for dissecting inequality and deep social critique, wins Jeopardy?
Yeah, what does that win mean? Does it suggest that maybe this kind of critical awareness, this informed, broader worldview is finally shifting from the activist fringe into the accepted mainstream of American intellectual life?
Or does it just reinforce a more timeless idea? That critique, when it's backed by real knowledge, by genuine intellect, is just an incredibly powerful tool, no matter where you use it, whether it's an Emmy-winning documentary, a satirical stage show, or the final round of a classic game show.
It's a win that really proves rigorous thought cuts across all genres, doesn't it?